Sometimes you get the interview of a lifetime. We've got one today. Our special guest is a phenomenal woman, LUCINA Stapleton Wade, the first Miss Culture, crowned in 1974. She's not given many interviews over those 40 years, but today we've got an exclusive. We look at the people and the circumstances surrounding her elevation to the crown in 1974. We look at the progress we've made from 74 to the present. And we look at today's C40 celebrations and project Nevis's cultural festival into the future. LUCINA, it's a great pleasure that you're granting us this interview. So nice to have you.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Very special and envisioned woman. First, could you tell us what's your recipe? You're apparently drinking from the fountain of youth because you don't look a day older.
Well, thank you. As you get older, you have to work harder at everything. I fit in my life a routine of exercising and dieting and eating healthier. Being in the medical profession, I have to advise my patients to eat right and exercise. So I follow the
Very strict regime.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Now, in today's Culturama festivities, if you want to enter the Miss Culture pageant, you have to apply. What was the process like in 1974, and how did it happen? Who spiked your interest to enter that first ever show?
Back in 1974, it was just an idea, so everything was word of mouth. I was approached by Jericare Wade. She was a local resident and asked me to enter the pageant. At first I thought, why me? Because I didn't think I was that pageant type girl. So.
And you shared that idea, I imagine, with your boyfriend then, if you had one, and probably your mother. What was their reaction?
No boyfriend, but my mom. And she's like, are you sure you want to do something like that? And I said, I would just go in and make up the number.
That was the plan, just to make up the number?
Yes.
What sort of lead time did you have before you were approached and the actual show?
Not very much time, probably maybe 2 months, the most.
Now, nowadays, you look at the pre-activities to help the girls socialize. Mm-hmm. I saw, for instance, on television, a very nice catamaran cruise on the Keona, girls jumping overboard and splashing in the water. Of course, dinners, the bar crawl, a visit with dignitaries. What did the participants in 74 do as preparation, as socializing ahead of the show?
As far as meeting with each other and the NATEX group coaching us along, that's what we had. And the chaperones helped us along that way. I think it's a great idea that the girls now do get to do those things, going out and meeting the premiere, having the dinners, the fashion shows, because it prepares them for the shows.
So who was your chaperone and sponsor?
My chaperone was Dixie Wade, and I was sponsored by JNF Hemphill.
What did sponsorship entail?
They gave money towards buying your outfits for the competition. Mm-hmm. And that's all that I know that it did, because it wasn't about what they gave. It's about getting the idea off and putting out the performance out there, reviving the culture of Nevis.
Mm-hmm. Was there a theme, so to speak, for the show or for Culturama in that year?
Not really, but I think they were focusing more on the African heritage.
Now, in 1974, Nevis was a very different place. We had the Christina disaster of 1970, August 1st, and we're fast approaching that anniversary. And of course, in 1973, El Camido Willett became the first Leeward Islander to play for the West Indies. And 74 was seen as a thought of rebirth, a renaissance. That's when Nevisians got their life back after the saddest marine disaster in their history. put that into context for me and tell me what Culturama meant within that concept.
I think at that time, Navisians were all looking for a reason to go out and celebrate, to get out from that sad disaster that happened. It was a big loss for the people of Nevis. Everyone was grieving. So we found that time in coming together.
And recently we did an interview with Dr. Whitman Brown, who's written 3 books on the Christina disaster, one as recently as 2012. And he said people were moving in the outward direction. Families had lost mothers and fathers and grandparents. Children had become orphans. And so they were being sent to St. Kitts and Anguilla and St. Martin and the Virgin Islands. What sort of support did Culturama in those early days get from Navisians in the diaspora?
The Navisians abroad were very helpful, especially Navisians in Canada, New York, and the Virgin Islands. They provided trips for the contestants who entered the Miss Culture Talent Show at that time, as it was called.
Okay, and then it was a very short version of Culturama. Now we've got an expansive program. Folks tell me that it only extended over a weekend. Can you remember what the program was like?
We had, I know the Calypso Show and the Miss Culture Talent Show at that time were the main events. Then we had the street dancing, where, we danced freely in the street, which was excellent because we weren't worrying about what's happening today with the crime rate. Everyone came out to celebrate. We did, there was Dick's Bar, so that's where the action was at that time.
Now, yesterday we did a radio show, and you gave us a little bit of trivia that in 1974, in fact, the song to which we danced in the street came out of Antigua. It wasn't until much later that a young man from Brooklyn, Eugene Brandy, known as Labu, gave Nevis its first local road march in Grand Pedance. But Navisians were dancing to the road march of Antigua in 1974, which was?
Lucinda Tight Tight by Shot. Mm-hmm. So, but we embraced that because we were building a foundation. So we took that idea also and developed our own road march competitions.
And it was not called Juve then, as I understand it, was Pajama Jam?
Pajama Jam.
What sort of outfits did people have on?
Pajama-like outfits. T-shirts and shorts and, comfortable wear.
Must have been something.
It was something.
Now, you mentioned the Calypso Show, and of course, Zero, who lives in Antigua, was crowned.
Yes.
The Miss Culture Show, which I think you said was called Miss Culture Talent.
Talent Show.
So there was an emphasis on talent.
Yes.
There was a dramatic presentation.
Yes, there was a drama.
NEDAX evolved from the Nevis Drama Group, which was formed, I understand, way back in 1956.
It was way back ago.
And so it evolved with people like Calvin Howell and so on.
Yes, Lyra Richards,
Irma
Johnson, Boots,
Clifford Boots, Griffin,
yes,
and so on. Talk us through the Miss Culture Talent Show.
With the talent show, we were given a time limit. I don't know exactly what the time frame was, but each of us had a different type of talent. Like I know I did a dramatic poem, and someone else did a dance, and I believe someone did the masquerades. We were depicting things that were, to us, culture here. So.
And could you remember who the other participants were?
There was Ernie Robinson, Lynette, Loretta Mills.
Lynette Williams.
Lynette Williams from Gingerin. Loretta Mills from Cradle Road. Yvette Glassford.
And
there was one more. Why am I thinking?
One eludes us at the moment.
Yes.
But tell us about that moment when the results came down.
I did not expect to win because during my dramatic poem presentation, the power went out. But I kept on anyways because we were used to the lights going off and on at different times. I kept on, so I did not think that I was going to even place, but that was okay because we were there to entertain. So when they called out the second one-up and the first
when
one-up,
they called out, who would have been the MC on that?
I'm 58, I can't remember.
Okay.
I can't remember. But they called out the winners, and everyone was pleased with their, their places.
And there was, as I understand it, no television in Nevis at
There was
the time.
no television, it was just a radio station.
Carried on ZIZ radio.
Carried on live on ZIZ.
No choice.
No choice.
No AdCom communications.
Nothing,
no
just the
Nevis
stage
television.
at the Charlestown Secondary School.
Charlestown Secondary School.
That's where it was.
The first
It was
one.
hosted, yes, there.
What was the mood like, though?
Excitement. Everyone was excited because it's something new that we were now taking over our own cultural festival. Because it used to be Carnival, and they switched from the Carnival to the Cultural Festival in Nevis, which I think is a great idea. And I'm glad to see that 40 years later we're still continuing that tradition.
Now, at every anniversary, big anniversary, so to speak, the government of Nevis, the Culturama Committee, outdoes itself in giving prizes to the winners. This year, for instance, it's a car, brand new car. In previous years, there have been a bit of land.
Yes.
What did you get in 1974?
The winner got $500 cash.
500 US?
No, EC dollars. Yep. And I think the first runner-up got like $250, and the local divisions abroad, like New York, like I said, New Yorkers in Canada, and the folks that lived in the Virgin Islands, they donated trips that we were able to go and stay with,
Divisions there.
with divisions abroad.
So
yes.
where did you go to?
I went to St. Croix. I was to go to New York, but because I was a netball player, and there was a tournament going on at that time, so I wasn't able to go take that trip. So another one of the contestants who placed took that trip.
No, the business sector was not very developed then.
No.
There was no TDC, no Hosfords.
No.
Not even sure if there was Carib Breweries. There wasn't Development Bank and National Bank and all the big sponsors. What role did the small business community play in supporting Culturama?
I think they were ready to support and assisting as best they can.
So they gave like watches and a flask?
They probably give little things based on what their business were. I can't remember exactly what they gave.